Hi guys, it's Belle here, and it is time for me to share with you my October reading wrap up. Now, before we get on to the reading wrap up itself, I wanted to share with you two books that I picked up in October. I didn't read these because I've read them before, and one of them I briefly spoke about that I was going to be picking up, but I wanted to just share them with you because they're just so lovely. So the first one is the Hocus Pocus, but it's the illustrated classic. It's illustrated by Gris. I mean, is that his real name? Gris? Just look at the foiling on that, guys. Oh, it's so beautiful. This is the back. For the first time ever, fans can enjoy the story of Halloween classic Hocus Pocus alongside the stunning original artwork from Gris Grimley. I apologise if I'm saying it wrong. There's the side of it. Now, what I love is, firstly, this is like a canvas textured cover. Can you see the texture? Can you hear that? And it's foiled, like a bronze foil, but look at the inside. So this came out in 2025 by Studio Press Books. That is the ISBN if you are looking for the book itself. Now I have the original when they brought out the Hocus Pocus book that's got that and the follow-up. The follow-up's not really worth reading, that. But just look, guys, just look. But what I love, it's also got this like faux parchment paper, is the artwork is stunning. The artwork is really creepy and beautiful. Look how beautiful that is, guys. But that's my Hocus Pocus bookmark. But look at the Sandersons. Like, I think they're creepier than in the actual movie. I think that is absolutely beautiful. I just love the artwork in this. And as I said, I think it's super creepy. I love the faux parchment paper. Here we have the skull. I'm not going to show you all the illustrations because obviously you're going to, if you want this book, there should be some surprises. Look how Halloweeny. But I love. Look at them. Just look at them. Now, I do not like the super cutesy like this. My daughter brought me this bookmark though, so it's super special. But I don't tend to like this super cutesy style. I like it to be a bit creepier. So this artwork is just right up my street. Anyway, so there we have the Hocus Pocus illustrated version. If you love the movie, it might be worth getting this. Or if you have little ones in your life who love the movie, it might be worth getting them this. And the other one. Now, a few weeks ago, I showed you my Frankenstein books. I'll leave that linked below in case you're interested and haven't seen it. And I did mention in that one that MinaLima was coming out with their version of Frankenstein, their illustrated version, and the MinaLima illustrated classics, in case you don't know, also have interactive elements. I got it, guys. Firstly, can I just say how big this book is for such a small book? This is gold foiling. This, exactly like the Hocus Pocus one, is a textured hardback. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at it, guys. Just take a moment to soak in just how stunningly beautiful. I mean, just look at this scene. Here is the side view and the back. Now, again, I'm not going to show you every interactive piece in this because if you get it yourself, it'd be worth doing that. Look at these end pages. Again, it's illustrated. I have every MinaLima classic that they've brought out so far. I don't have the Harry Potter ones. I have this. This was literally published, I think it came out right at the end of October, guys. So that's why it wasn't in my vlog. It wasn't in my video of the covers that I have. But the illustrations are beautiful. I love that the letters have italic writing. whereas the rest of the, look, it even looks like his letter, whereas the rest of the book, let's look at the artwork, guys. Let's look at these chapter headings. I mean, just look at it all. Oh my goodness, guys, honestly. It's stunning. It is really just stunning. And then there are interactive bits. So I want to show you one in particular because it reminds me of, let me grab it. I'll grab it in a minute. Sorry, I got distracted by looking again. So this reminds me of, let me grab it. So I made one of these. I think it was for January earlier this year, but it's like a card. It opens up and you see the eye. It's an interactive card. There is a video on this, guys, so I'll link that below too in case you missed it. But this reminds me of this because look at all the metal pieces, and you remove the white paper from behind so it looks more like this. But watch as I move it. Ah, look at his eyeball. He's looking at you. And it just did remind me. I was like, oh my goodness, how funny is it that I literally made this earlier this year with the eyeball in it. And then, yeah, this has the eye. So there are several interactive pieces. I'll show you one more. There are other bits and bobs. Just look at that. Just look at him. Oh, I love it so much. But the one I really want to show you was, where is it? Oh, it's this one. So this is supposedly the wedding invite for Dr. Victor Frankenstein and Elizabeth, who is often mistakenly considered, well, she's called the bride of Frankenstein, which she is because she marries Victor, but she's often mistakenly considered the bride of the creature. That's not the case. She's the bride of Victor Frankenstein. This is all cut out paperwork, and then when we open it up, oh, it's so beautiful. But there are lots of different interactive pieces. Look at that. Look at the monster, the creature. Look at him. It's just, so with the normal page, with the normal story, it's just normal print font. And then again, when we have letters, it is in italic. Again, I'm not going to show you all of the different things, but just look at the artwork. So there are interactive pieces, guys, and I am so excited to now have this. Not only to complete my MinaLima, I'm really hoping they bring something like Dracula out or Dorian Gray or something like that. Because so far we've had things like Wizard of Oz, Beauty and the Beast, Peter Pan, those kind of things. This is the first proper gothic one they've brought out, and I want another one. So not only does it add to that collection, but it adds to my Frankenstein collection. So that's the ISBN if you're looking for it. This is probably my second favourite cover or edition of Frankenstein that I now own, because the painted version I still love, but I love this one so much. Anyway, I just wanted to share those with you. We're going to get on to the actual books I did read in October. So as always, I'm going to split this into audiobooks, then ebooks, then physical books. While I'm doing that, I'm going to be working, I think I saw Tony, I didn't quite watch all of the video, but I saw her, like, some images that she did something like this with her own stamps. So I thought, let's have a go and make something myself. And so I'll split it into the audio and the ebook. And whilst I'm doing that, I will be crafting. These are all crafted by Tony stamps. I don't know which ones I'm going to use, but I've got her CBT 0021 labels 2, CBT 0033 definition. This is the Halloween one. This is CBT 0005. This was Halloween 2024. And this is her CBT 0031 Halloween. I will link them all below. There's going to be so many links below, guys. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to open these up and start. On this piece of tea-dyed paper, that's also had inks on it, I'm going to use the labels. So I read 11 books in October. I had hoped to read more, but we were super busy with different things and other stuff. And so I didn't get to read as much, especially audiobooks. I did not get to read as many or listened to as many audiobooks as I would have liked, but I did listen to some of the books that I've got physically on audio as well. So let's get started. The first book I want to talk to you about is Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. Now, earlier, a couple of months ago, or maybe last month, I don't know, I read Bitterthorn by Kat Dunn, and I just really loved the way that book, like her writing. So I picked up Hungerstone. It's meant to be, I think, an adult novel. It's classed as historical horror. Although I didn't really get the horror vibes, but anyway, historical horror. And it is a retelling of Carmilla. Now, if you know anything, Carmilla is by Sheridan Le Fanu, and it came out before Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it is a vampire retelling. And just like in the original Carmilla, this one has what I would say is, well, it's sapphic in areas. And I gave this 4 stars. It was very atmospheric. I really enjoyed listening to it. It's one of those books where not a lot happens, but the atmosphere is good. It's one of those ones which I like, especially if I'm wanting a gothic novel. I want there to be atmosphere in a book. So we have Lenore. She's now in her 30s, and she's been married to Henry, or she's nearly in her 30s. She's been married to Henry for at least 10 years. They don't have the best marriage. It's not the worst marriage, but she's not being able to have children, and this has led to some the marriage becoming a little bit difficult, and she just focuses her day-to-day on things within the house and doing what she can. And they are closing up their London home to move to Nethershore, which is like this old country estate. And right from the beginning, she's having strange dreams and things, which is what happens in Carmilla. And she's not quite sure what is happening. So she's just trying to get on with it. She's irritated. She's not feeling very well either. Now, I have to say there's a little bit of a mystery of what's happening. And I have to say I guessed super quickly what that was. But I've probably read far too many Victorian historical Gothic novels. Let's use some of the words, I think, on some of these. What one do I want to use? Do I want to use Halloween? Let's use that. And her and Henry moved to their estate because he wants to open it up for hunting season. And it's all set in the UK, in England. And it's kind of up north, and he owns factories as well. And so there's this whole kind of industrial up north Gothic feeling, Victorian feeling, which is great. When they get there, she's still feeling really unwell. And then there is an accident where this woman has an accident nearby, so they take her in, and that woman is Carmilla. Now, the thing about this book is that it wasn't really focused on the vampire aspect. There's hints of vampirism, and Carmilla does get a bit, does a few things near the end. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But this is more a book of a bit of a mystery, a Gothic mystery, and, a woman coming into her own, finding her own power, and standing up to her husband. So I'd say it's an okay retelling of Carmilla, but I'd still say read the original. And I wanted more. I wanted more of the Carmilla vibes. That's what I really, really wanted. Oh, I want another bat one now. So yeah, that was that. It was good. It was 4 stars because I really did not want to put the book down. I enjoyed reading it. I loved the atmosphere. It was so creepy and gothic, and you know, and because I knew what was happening to her, I kept shouting at the audiobook, stop it, why don't you understand what's happening? So there was that. I was sure, I want to say 80% sure everything was going to turn out the way I hoped it would, but it is a gothic horror, so you can't always be 100% sure that it's going to turn out the way you want it to. Anyway, so that was Carmilla by Kat Dunn. I do recommend it. It got 4 stars. If you really like a slow gothic where it's more about the woman coming into her own power and atmosphere, then this is definitely the book for you to pick up. So yeah, I recommend that. And then the next, or the other audiobook that I listen to exclusively, these are exclusively on audio. Other books that I've kind of done a mix of reading styles on them. But the other book that I recommend, or I read rather, was Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. Now, I love T. Kingfisher's work. And this one is another retelling, funny enough, but it is a retelling of Snow White. Now, if you go into this thinking there's going to be a lot of Snow White in this, there's not. There's really not a lot of Snow White. I really didn't mind that because that's fine. But we have this, she's called Healer Anya. And she, where do I want to, will that fit there? I'm going to see. She particularly works with poisons. So even though she's called Healer, basically her whole life she's been fascinated by the idea of poisons and finding antidotes for them. She also isn't your typical looking woman. So she reminds me of the actress who plays Weems in Principal Weems in Wednesday. I'll try and remember the name of her. That might go over the bat, but that's okay. I don't mind. She's tall. She's bulky. She's not overtly feminine. She's fine with all that, but she just knows she doesn't look like your typical woman. So, you know, and she's interested in poisons. And one day, this is right at the beginning, she's working in her home. Her father is also a healer, a doctor. She's working in her home and the king turns up and says, I need you to come and help. I think my daughter Snow is being poisoned and your father recommended you, and I would love if you would come and try and work out what is going on with my daughter. Now, Anya's a bit annoyed about this because she's like, well, gosh, you know, I'm busy right now. But anyway, and I don't want to, what if I can't work it out? And what if the king gets angry with me? And what if? And so she travels with the king. Now, this is set in a world different to ours, but similar to ours. So they don't have gods, they have saints, and all their saints are animals. So we have Saint Ada and Saint Bird and things like that, which I really loved. It's also a really arid place. So it's full of, what's it called? It's full of desert and things like that, which is also pretty interesting. And she travels with the king to see Snow. he hasn't told anyone who she is or what she's doing. He just says she's a doctor. Other people think she might be the king's mistress. And they go to this place that's in the middle of nowhere, and she's got guards who have been attached to her to make sure that she's safe. And Snow's about, oh gosh, 12 years old in this book. And we really don't get to see a lot of Snow. I mean, we get to see some, but not as much as you might think for a Snow White retelling. But it is so cleverly done how the idea of the magic mirror and the apple and the evil queen, it's so well done. I loved Anya as a person. I just really, really did love her. I liked, there is a little bit of romance in this, but it really is a side plot, and it happens much nearer the end of the book, so you don't have to worry too much if romance, like me, is not your thing. And yeah, it's cleverly done. There's a rooster in it, and what I love about T. Kingfisher's books, I've said this before, is she often works with older women, which is always fun because there's just not enough of that in books. So Anya is in her 30s, which isn't old, but considering most books are girls in their teens or 20s, and her characters are always a little bit different. So I saw a little 31 somewhere, so that is fun. And Anya is just, and also T. Kingfisher often puts animals in her books. So she's got a little rooster in this one, which is fun. And she has a talking cat, which he just stole my heart because he's a cat and he talks. What more do we need? Hold on. Why have I not got Tony's texture stamps with me? Who am I? So what I might do is do this in brown. So it's a good book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars only because it was fun, but I worked basically everything out really, really quickly. And also, like, I wasn't that invested in some of the storylines. And I was pretty sure it was all going to work out okay. Like, it's one of those low, I want to say low peril books, but you know, other people might disagree. I don't know. But anyway, so that was Hemlock and Silver. I will be buying it. I put off buying it. I saw the beautiful, absolutely stunning, what's it called? Sprayed Edge Stunning Edition. And I didn't buy it because I'm trying to be good and only buy once I've read and know that I enjoy them. But I did really enjoy it, so now I wish I bought it. So that's my 2 audiobooks, Hungerstone and Hemlock and Silver, both retellings, both good, both gave 5 stars. And yeah, they were fun. So now on to the only audio digital book that I read this month. And that was the second book in the Amish Candy Shop series that I started the month before. And this is by Amanda Flowers. And this one was called Lethal Liquorice. I mean, such a great name, isn't it? And we have Bailey. So this follows on quite quickly after the first book. And Bailey is helping. She's not Amish, but she has moved to her grandparents' Amish town because her grandfather in the first book was ill, and they own an Amish sweets shop called, what's it called? Swissman's Sweets, I think. Swissman's Sweets, something like that. And she was a chocolatier in New York, but she's given that all up to stay with her grandparents and help out in their shop. And there is a candy, the Amish confectionery competition is being held, and Bailey is stepping in for her grandfather. Now, many of the Amish aren't happy about this because she's not Amish. She does have someone who is Amish helping her, but, you know, she's not Amish, so they're a bit annoyed about this. Some of the Amish competitors, which, you know, to be fair, I would be too. And this is bringing loads and loads of tourists to their little town of Harvest, Ohio, to come and see the competition. And on the first day of the competition, this woman called Josephine Weaver is very angry about her being in the competition and comes up and starts shouting and screaming and saying, I'm going to get you kicked out and all this other stuff. And Bailey's not paying much attention to that. She's like, okay. So it turns out that, sorry, I got a little bit distracted there. It turns out that Josephine Weaver ends up dead, and the person suspected is not only Bailey again, but also Josephine Weaver's niece, I think it is, who is also kind of related to Bailey, but Bailey did not know this. So it looks like it's called lethal licorice because it turns out Josephine was allergic to licorice. This all happens very quickly, and that is what's found on her. So immediately people are like, Bailey, that's who's done it. So even though licorice is part of the competition, but it looks like it's Bailey's licorice that was found on Josephine. And we go from there. Now, I gave this 3.5. I enjoyed it. I will have to say I did not guess it, because I would say, to be honest, that the murder in this one and the reason for it, I don't think is that easy to kind of guess. It's a bit random. But in saying that, I mean, it was fine. I enjoyed, I think, the first book more, but I still enjoyed this one. My main gripe with this one is that Bailey basically was not doing anything in the competition. So she has someone who's helping her who is Amish, and Bailey kept going off to investigate and going, oh, I'll be back in a minute. So that person was stirring the taffy and the licorice. That person was cutting it up and packaging it. Like, Bailey was probably there in the whole competition. She was maybe there for 10% of it. So every time they're like, oh, your sweets are so great, Bailey, I was thinking, well, like, Bailey she wasn't even there. Like, it might be her recipe, but the other girl is doing all of the work. And that really annoyed me, because I just thought, realistically, how realistic is it that you would be part of a cooking competition and spend the majority of that competition not actually part of the competition? Surely just on that alone, they should have disqualified her. Just on that alone. That's just how I feel. It really did irritate me that we were going through the whole book and she wasn't there for 90% of the competition. Also, the pig goes missing in this book. There's a little pig in the first book and the pig goes missing, which I'm like, no, find the pig. The pig's so cute. And there is a little ginger cat called Nutmeg. So, I mean, it all came together in the end and everything was okay. But, yeah, I just feel like it could have been... I just felt like it wasn't as good a story as the other one was. So yeah, it got 3.5 from me. I will still be continuing the series. I've already got the next book. It is a Christmas book, so I am super excited about that because, you know, Christmas. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. Let's do the witches there too. I'm enjoying it. I just, in all honesty, I don't really like Bailey. She irritates me. She's always like sneakily listening to people's conversations. I know it's a murder mystery, but she's always like coming up behind the cop and listening to it and getting into trouble and being like, you just take care of this. I'm going to go interrogate this person and run over here and get into this, that and the other, and just completely know I'm being rude whilst also still doing the same thing. So I don't really like Bailey, but I love the Amish background. I love the other characters, including Bailey's grandparents. I love the lady who owns the pig. So for me, I'm going to continue reading it. So we've made these. Now we're going to get on to the physical books. So I'm going to do these this time in the order that I read them. So the first book I finished in October was Gobelino, the Witch's Cat by Ursula Moray Williams. Now, this is a classic. It was written in, oh my goodness, when was it written? First published, oh my goodness me, when was it first published? Oh gosh. We should have known that beforehand. 1942. Now, when I was growing up, I used to get this magazine. It was a little comic magazine, and it had all these amazing fun stories in it. It had lots of like fairy tales and myths. You can see I've loved this my whole life. I still have those magazines. I have the complete collection in their binders. And one of the stories that was in that they would do a section of each edition was Gobelino, the Witch's Cat, and so I remember it from them, but I've never read this book, and I picked it up, I want to say last year, in a charity shop. And just look at it. I mean, how could this not be an October book? It's a black cat and an orange cover. So Gobelino, the Witch's Cat is born into a witchy family with his sister, oh my gosh, Sutika. And when they first go out to play under the moon, Gobelino and Sutika, Sutika gasps and realizes that Gobelino is not a pure black cat. He has slight tabby under his black fur. He has one white paw and blue eyes. And this means he can't be a witch's cat. And the witch is so angry about this. And she flies all over trying to get people to take Gobelino on, and no one wants him. Everyone wants Sutika, but no one wants his Gobelino. And so Gobelino wakes up one day to find his whole family have gone. It's pretty sad. And he doesn't want to be a witch's cat anyway. He just wants to be a normal kitchen cat. He wants to be with a family, lie by a fire, maybe catch some mice, not do magic. So we follow Gobelino as he goes on his merry way. And so each chapter is like a little story of different places that he goes to and people he encounters. Like he first is found by this farmer's family and the kids all love him and the farmer and that loves him. But unfortunately, Gobelino lets in, I think it's a boggart. I think it might be, or a pixie or something. He lets him in and anyway, when he lets him in, it might be a boggart, I'm not sure. He causes havoc and they believe it's Gobelino because they know Gobelino must be a witch's cat because he has sparks coming out of his whiskers and can do funny things. And he can talk. Like, that's a pretty big sign, guys. And this happens all throughout the book. He finds somewhere where he feels comfortable and then something happens and he gets the blame for it and people are just like, oh, he must be a witch's cat, and then he has to move on, which is always sad. I have heard it said it's a bit repetitive, but I never find it repetitive. Yes, there's the same theme going throughout, but some of the people really don't want to let him go, but they have no choice in the matter. And so we follow Gobelino as he's going through all this, and then he ends up meeting his sister Sutika again. And by the end of the book, well, it's a children's book, so obviously things are going to end up in a place where Gobelino is happy. I gave this 3.5. I do think if I'd read, I remember the stories fondly in the magazine, but I'm not sure that if I think I would have loved this as a child, but maybe not so much now. And because it's not a book I grew up with, like Mrs. Pepperpot and that, it doesn't have that much of a nostalgia. It just reminds me of the magazine. Although I might have to get those out and see what stories of Gobelino is in there. And right at the back of this book, because it's a puffin edition, special edition. It gives you all the extras. It tells you a bit about the author, interesting facts, where the story came from, the different words, a little bit of a quiz, even how to make an origami cat and things like that. And interesting things like this year in 1942. So it's a fun little book. It's a good little story. It hasn't got too much peril, but I don't really like the way the cat's sometimes treated by people. And all Gobelino wants is a family and a home. So yeah, it's a sweet little book. Gave it 3.5. Not much else to say about it. I'm not sure I'm going to keep it in my collection. I have to consider that. The next book I finished was one that I recently picked up in a charity shop because it's been on my radar for quite a while. And this is My Sister, the Serial Killer by, I think it's Oyenkan Braithwaite. I apologise if I've said your name wrong. And in this, I love how this is written. It's very small chapters. I flew through this book. It took me a couple of hours to read. So in this one, we have two sisters. We have Korede and Ayola. It's set in Nigeria. And Korede is a nurse. She works at a hospital. She's an older sister. She's likes everything to be perfect. She's very organized and everything like that. And her sister Ayola is flighty. She's beautiful. She's considered the beautiful sister. She's very flighty. She's artistic. She makes clothes, but she just so happens to have a habit of killing her boyfriends. So as it says, when Korede's dinner is interrupted one night by a distress call from her sister Ayola, she knows what's expected of her: bleach, rubber gloves, nerves of steel, and a strong stomach. Now, Ayola's always saying, oh, it was self-defense. I didn't mean to do this. But the real trouble comes when Ayola turns up at the hospital one day to have lunch with her sister and bumps into this gorgeous doctor. And it just so happens to be a doctor that Korede is also interested in. And she knows no one's going to look at her once they see her sister. And then they start dating. And Korede has to work out, the latest death of the latest boyfriend keeps playing in her mind. And she's trying to work out, how do I protect the doctor and my sister? There are real family dynamics in here. It's a very quick and easy read. There's some gore, but not too much. There's some distressing subjects about their past and their father. So, you know, trigger warnings if that's anything. Although there's only one scene in here, I would say, that's on page that is distressing. About their father. And it's interesting, the cultural idea in Nigeria about family and traditions and your roles. And then we have these two sisters who deep down, they really do love each other, but they just don't understand each other. And one doesn't really take any responsibility for what she does a lot of the time. And it's a very interesting dynamic. That is the main point of the book. Less so the serial killing aspect. And I'm not going to say that this ends in a satisfying way, because it probably doesn't. But I really loved this book. This came out a few years ago. I really enjoyed it. I say I loved it. I gave it a 3.75. Quick to read. Really enjoyed it. I wasn't invested in either of the characters. I didn't like either of them. I still didn't want them to go to jail or whatever, but I wasn't that invested if they did end up in jail. Does that make sense? But the story itself was interesting. I really like the interesting dynamics, and I just think that's funny. You know, you get a phone call and you've got to bring bleach, rubber gloves, and nerves of steel. What's it like if your sister? And I think it says in the back, they ask her, because there's an interview with the author, and they ask her about how would you feel if you were asked to cover up a murder for a sibling. And it's an interesting book. She's got a new one out, so I am interested in picking that one up. So that was fun. Then I re-listened to this. This is one of my favorite series of all time. This is Juna Dawson's Her Majesty Royal Coven. I have the beautiful signed gorgeous edition of this book. Now this is, well, it's called Hidden Among Us, A Secret Coven of Witches. If you like that particular magical school series characters. This is like a grown-up, much better version of that, I think. So we have these 4 friends. They are witches and they've known each other most of their lives. One of them is actually related to a Pendle witch. So we have Helena, Neve, Leonie and Elle. Now Neve and Elle, no, there's another one, Neve's sister Kira. So actually there's 5 girls, but we've got 4 friends. We've got Neve and Kira, who are Irish and they're twins. We have Helena, who is now the head of the Her Royal Majesty's Coven, and we have Leonie and Elle. Now the coven is basically it goes back in history, but the coven is like works for the government. They're their magic side, and only women can be in the coven, and men are warlocks. And Helena is now the head of the coven, and there is a prophecy that this cursed child is going to turn up and it will destroy not only mankind but destroy all witch kind as well. And this child turns up. Now most witches have one power, whether that be fire, water, earth, whatever it is. Some have more than one. They're adepts, and this young boy is found and he turns out to have more than 3 powers, and they can't quite control him. There's also been a little while before a big witch war. Really reminds me of like the Death Eaters and stuff. There's this big witch war, and unfortunately Neve's sister Kira is on the dark side, and there is some very creepy scenes in here when they discuss that. I highly recommend getting the audiobook for this. I think it's Nicola Coughlan does the audio, and oh my gosh, it sounds like a complete ensemble cast, and it's just her. Neve has become a vet, and she decides to take this young boy under her wing and kind of try and work out more about him, where he's come from, all that kind of thing. This always gets a 4.5 from me. It's not quite a 5, but it's a 4.5. I think it's not quite a 5 because it doesn't make me emotional, but my goodness, this is one of those endings where when you read it the first time, your jaw drops on the ground and you're like, what? Give me the next book now. Feed it into my eyeballs. I need it immediately in my hands. We had to wait for it to come out. I can't believe it. And so everything starts going down. What I love about Juno Dawson in this is we have a massive diverse cast. There is amazingly positive representation in here, but there is also talk about some subjects that really do need to be discussed. And Juno Dawson is a trans woman who is able to put on page the reality of some conversations, and we get to really love some characters, and then you realize that they're not very nice people. And it makes you realize like the complexities of situations. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to spoil it for people. But yes, so I listened to this on audio. I have the beautiful book. I've read it. I've listened to it on audio. This is my 3rd time rereading this book since it came out. And the whole reason I'm doing a reread is because the final book came out a couple of months ago. I was going to jump straight into the final book. I wanted to do a reread of the series first. So I'm rereading this. And this month, November, I'll be doing the 2nd book of the series before in December going to pick up the final. There is really interesting historical stuff in here. There is, like I said, amazing diversity in here. There are some beautiful characters in here, and yet the people are dealing with grief, they're dealing with trauma, they're dealing with all sorts of things in this book. So there's lots of trigger warnings, but I absolutely love this series. So anyway, enough going on about that. Then, a bit of a disappointment for me. It got 3.5. I saw this in Waterstones. It's the beautiful spray dead. It came with its own little bookmark. It is A Grave Inheritance by Felicity Epps. Now, because of where this was in the bookshop, I thought this was YA. And I hadn't heard anyone talk about it. And it says, you are cordially invited to the seance of Miss Edith Rain. 17-year-old Liquorice was never supposed to inherit her family's fortune. And when she begins to see haunting visions, she's convinced she's inherited her sister Edith's ghost too. Teaming up with her occult-assessed neighbour and a mysterious spiritual medium, the trio form the Society of Free Spirits, a group of resourceful and underestimated girls whose first point of action is to set Edith's restless ghost free. But with messages from beyond the grave, all pointing to the same thing, murder, Liquorice is soon plunged headfirst into a shadowy mystery only she can solve. First of all, can I just say how beautiful this cover? This is why I picked it up. I hadn't heard anyone talk about it. I saw the sprayed edges. I saw the cover. I saw Sisterhood, Seance and Murder. And I was like, I'm in. However, this I would not call young adult. Well, no, I suppose it is. I would, yeah, it's very young adult. Like, I'm talking maybe 14, even though the characters are 16, 17. So as it says, Liquorice is remaining. Her father has passed away unexpectedly, and then her beloved sister passes away, and Liquorice comes home. She's 16, 17. She has, strangely enough, in Victorian society, inherited. Her father has left her the house and all the money. And Liquorice has a lot of grief that she's dealing with and anxiety. She has been in full mourning for a year and a bit. She doesn't want to get out of bed. She constantly thinks she's about to die. She's constantly like, get the doctor, get the priest, which I completely get, having an anxiety issue myself. And she just is really, really struggling with life. And then things start happening. Spooky things start happening. And she goes to this apothecary shop and meets this young guy, Septimus, who she likes, and takes a nerve tonic. And when she takes this nerve tonic, she starts to see things. And we kind of go from there. So one of the women is her best friend, Ada, who lives next door and is the doctor's daughter and has her brother, Theo. Now, I'm going to be honest, I worked this out super, super quickly. And I'm going to be honest, it took me nearly 2 weeks to finish this book, I think. At least 2 weeks. It almost put me into a reading slump. I didn't like any of the characters. Liquorice was insufferable. Even though I know she's 17, she's got anxiety and she's going through grief. She was just constantly making really poor decisions and being hysterical. And Ada, her friend next door, was ridiculously over the top. I felt like there was no kind of up and down in their personalities. It was one note. Ada was over the top, over the top, over the top. And Liquorice was like, oh, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. And then you get, oh my gosh, what is that? There's a picture of them in the back. Violet, who is the medium as well. I worked out, like I said, really quickly what was going on. And it really was not, it wasn't what I was looking for spooky season. I really was hoping it would be spookier, even as a YA, but it really is really young YA. There's nothing wrong with YA. Lots of people enjoy it. I don't particularly enjoy it as much. I was reading a lot of YA actually over the last couple of months, but I'm not enjoying this as much. And this will not be staying, which is super sad because it's so, so beautiful. But there is a second one coming out soon. I will not be continuing in the series. I just don't like the characters. I worked out the mystery really quickly. And yeah, there's not much more to say about it. It was a bit disappointing, but it might be something you think sounds fun. A reread for me was Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. Now, I brought this last year or the year before, and I reread it every autumn. I love this book. There is good representation. This is another feel-good, hug-in a book. Honestly, I've said about Garlic and the Vampire by Brie Paulson. This is also along that vein. This gets 5 stars every single time, guys. I love these characters so much. So what is it about? We have Deja and Josiah, known as Josie by Deja. And it says, every autumn, all through high school, they've worked together at the best pumpkin patch in the whole wide world. They say goodbye every Halloween and then reunite every September 1st. But this Halloween is different. Josiah and Deja are finally seniors, and this is their last season at the pumpkin patch, their last shift together, their last goodbye. Josiah's ready to spend the whole night feeling melancholy about it. Deja isn't ready to let him. She's got a plan. What if instead of moping, they went out with a bang? What if their last shift was an adventure? We have two characters. Josiah's very quiet and slightly insecure, and there's a point in this book, there's a girl that he's been attracted to for 3 years and never even spoken to. He doesn't even know her name. She works at the fudge shop, but Josiah and Deja work at the succotash stall. Deja is bubbly and fun and grasps life and is just amazing. The rep in here is beautiful. Can I just say, I wish there was a pumpkin patch like this that I could go to. Fudge shops, petting zoos, mazes. Look at that maze, the hay rides, the food. This will make you so hungry, guys. You need to be having lots of food nearby when you're eating this. I love the art style. I love all the little puns. 99 out of 100 scarecrows agree we're the corniest. Okay, I am very... so much. I love a good pun. Josiah is often the most valuable pumpkin patch person. And it's their last night, so Deja's like, we can't just stand around. I've arranged for us to do something different. And they go to all these food stalls. So they go to the succotash stall, they go to the small pit, they go to the fudge shop and all this. There's a, what is it called? It's a, hold on. Oh, it's the pumpkin bomb. And it's basically like pumpkin pie in like chocolate and ice cream or something. Like, I've never heard of the likes of it. The art style's beautiful. The colorway in this is stunning. There's a goat rampaging. There's a horrible little child who's constantly stealing someone's food. There's so much food. There's so much character. There's so much love in this book. Honestly, it's like autumn in a book. If you can't get to a pumpkin patch, here's a way for you to visit one. Honestly, I cannot recommend this highly enough. I absolutely love this book. I love Josiah and Deja. I just love Deja. Like, she's just an amazing. She's one of my favorite characters in a book. I would read a book about her. And she just helps Josiah become his best self and have the best night, their final night. So 5 stars for that. Yeah, I can't say enough about it. Then it was time for book 10 in the Poirot series, and it is Murder on the Orient Express. I mean, I can't imagine any of you don't know about this book. Gets 5 stars every time. Now, I actually listened to the audiobook as well as read it, and it was narrated by, funny enough, David Suchet, who plays the most amazing Hercule Poirot. And if you don't know what it's about, I'm going to give you a very brief synopsis. Hercule's having to travel somewhere. He has been solving a case, and he gets a place on the Orient Express, but the whole train is booked up. People can't work out why, because of the time of year it is. But he is friends with one of the, I don't know, managers or something of the Orient Express, and he gets a cabin. And as is always going to happen in an Agatha Christie, someone is murdered. The person who is murdered has come to Hercule the night before and said, I think someone's going to murder me. Can you help? Poirot doesn't like this man. Immediately takes a dislike to this person. Doesn't even know much about him, but it's just like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And then they get stuck in a snowdrift. So it's only the first class carriages. We never get to hear about those in economy or lower classes. It's just the people in first class. They're caught in the snowdrift. They're in an area where there's no police. So the guy, the manager, is it Book? He asks Poirot if you would help. I can't remember. I've got Book in the head. If you would help solve this murder. And we go from there. And it all links back to a cold case. This is such a good mystery. It is a classic for a reason. There is a twist in this that if you've never watched it and never read it, the twist in this is so iconic that it has inspired murder mysteries since. A bit like And Then There Were None. This is just so good. I love rereading it. It's atmospheric. They're in the snow. Poirot's doing his thing. And they've got to try and solve it quickly before the train starts moving again and people can get off. And there is a morally grey aspect to this book, and which makes it super interesting. It's not the only time, though, that occurs in a Poirot book, the morally grey aspect. And Poirot solves it, and it's always those little things. Again, people, the murderer is trying to put him off the trail, and Poirot always finds that interesting because you think you've left something that will point somewhere else, but Poirot already knows that that's a planted clue. So he keeps saying, well, I know I'm going to find this, this and this in this person and this person. And everyone's like, how do you even know? And he obviously does. It's a brilliant. I can't say more about it. It's such a good book. It's an amazing film, both the Kenneth Branagh, and if you watch it with David Suchet, it's atmospheric. It's a great winter one, even though I read it in October. It's a great winter one because they're stuck in the snow. You've got the steam train, the atmosphere, the murder, everyone around, a whole different strange cast of characters, from a British batsman to I think she's a Russian aristocrat, to an American kind of newspaper guy. Like, it's just so good. 5 stars. Amazing. Love it. Brilliant book. And then I read, now I've been meaning to get to this for a couple of years. I've had it. Now, I quite like Grady Hendrix, and I think I recently, earlier this year, I read his latest book, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, and I finally got around to my best friend's Exorcism. This has a complete 80s vibe. It's set in the 80s. It's also one of the ugliest covers I've ever seen, but it's meant to be like an old VHS cover. Even has it down there. I gave this 4.5 stars. So we have 2 girls who are best friends. We have Abby and what is her friend's name? Gretchen. And they have become really, really good friends since, I want to say middle school in America. It's set in America. And they both go to this very, very posh school. Abby's got a scholarship there because she comes from the poorer family, and Gretchen is one of the posh girls. They're best friends. They hang around with 2 other very rich people. And one night, they, as it says, after an evening of skinny dipping goes disastrously wrong, Gretchen begins to act different. And I really would look up trigger warnings for this book, guys. If you don't like horror, this is pure horror. And if you don't like horror, I wouldn't read it. Grady Hendrix basically writes horror. I find that his books aren't too horrific. Like, I can read them, and I don't normally read horror. The friendship between Gretchen and Abby is beautiful. This is proper, the things that make you friends, the music you listen to, the sleepovers, the incidences in school, spending summers eating ice cream. But by this point, they're teenagers. They're coming up to one of their final years, and they go to a party and they go skinny dipping, and Gretchen disappears overnight. And when they finally find her, she's been out in the woods by herself, and something is definitely not right. And Gretchen starts to say to Abby, I can't sleep, I'm hearing noises, this and this is happening to me. Gretchen's family are highly religious. They don't even let her listen to Madonna and things like this. And Abby knows something isn't right, but she doesn't know what. And she thinks something physical, like real, has happened. Something horrific has happened. And then things just go from bad to worse. And things get gross. And Gretchen begins to isolate Abby, and because Abby by this point knows that there's something really bad, and she really starts to believe her friend is possessed. At first she doesn't. She believes something else has happened, and she's trying to tell teachers, she's trying to tell Gretchen's parents, and no one will listen to her. It's the 80s. They're just like, we're going to have you arrested, and no one's going to believe your word anyway. And just horrible things start happening, and Gretchen starts to ice Abby out. And Abby starts to try and work out how to save her friend when no one's listening to her, and her friends aren't even her friends anymore. It's a little bit heartbreaking watching her try and fight for this friendship. And yeah, gross things start happening. There is a scene in this. Now, this is in every Grady Hendrix book. There is always one scene in every Grady Hendrix book that I cannot get out of my mind. And it's often not the scene you may think it is. But there is a scene in this book near the end where no, that wasn't nice. It was, it really made my stomach churn and I can't get it out of my head. There is also a distressing scene with a dog. I knew that was coming up because it is in reviews. I do check out trigger warnings, and I skipped over those pages. It's actually not as on page as you think it is, but just be aware that that's a thing. If you're going into this, it's near the end and it's only over 2 pages. As I said, I skipped over, didn't add anything to the book really. And then, as it says, Abby decides Gretchen needs an exorcism. So this is a book full of love, friendship, coming of age, and everything like that. I mean, as you can say, the exorcism, the demon, is it a metaphor for becoming a teenager? Possibly. But, you know, and I wasn't expecting the end, and it made me cry. So normally that would give it a 5, but it didn't get a 5. It didn't quite get there. It got a 4.5. But, you know, I still enjoyed it. So if you're into that kind of book, that might be worth picking up for you. I only ever really read Grady Hendrix's horror. But, yeah, I like the way he writes. But that scene. This was the final book of my month. This I actually picked up in October too. On a whim. Hadn't heard anything about it. Saw it was Monstrous Tales, Haunting Encounters with Britain's Mythical Beasts, and saw that not only did it have Rebecca Netley, Stuart Turton and Rosie Andrews, but it had a Janice Hallett. Now, you would have seen me read 2 Janice Hallett books this year. I've spoke about her a lot. She's one of my favourite authors. I love her books. And she writes epistolary novels, so it's like texts and emails and things like that. And I've never read a short story by her, so I didn't know how that was going to work. Now, this is how many stories? I want to say, let's just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. This is 9 short stories based on, and I gave this 4 stars, based on cryptoids around the UK or monster myths around the UK. So all the things in here are myths from the British Isles that you can look up, but given a modern set in modern times. I did see a review where someone said they didn't enjoy it because it was set in modern times, but I love that. I think that makes it scarier. We can think about Victorian England and creepy ghosties and the Hound of the Baskervilles, but actually to think that might still be a thing today, I think that's quite scary. I have to say, funny enough, the Janice Hallett book was one of my least favorite. I don't think her style works for short novels. So we have the different ones. We have The Yellow Death by Rosie Andrews, Old Trash. I loved Old Trash by Jen Ashwood. Ein Hallow Free by Sunaideen. That was brilliant. I have seen most people love that one best. Boneless by Janice Hallett. It was very interesting. I've never heard of that cryptoid before, but I just don't know if the style, Janice Hallett's style, worked for me with that. The Beast of Bodmin, which was okay. These Things Happen by Dan Jones. The Doctor's Wife by Abia Mukherjee. That was a good one too. Mr. Mischief by Rebecca Netley. That was actually set, I want to say, early 19 something. So that wasn't modern. That was good. Deaths in the Family by Stuart Turton, I think is probably my favourite. Yeah, it's one of my favourite. Basically, I liked all of them. The Yellow Death was okay. Boneless was good, but okay. Beast of Bodmin was all right, but wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't creepy enough. But the others, oh my gosh, I will tell you right now, and it actually shows you where these things are on the British Isles. So it is mainly mainland Britain. We have, I think in Wales, we have Scotland. We don't have one in Ireland. And we have some off the little islands as well. These Things Happen was another one. I didn't enjoy it that much, but it was an interesting take. So, yeah, The Yellow Death is set in 1918 as well. This was really good, guys. I really enjoyed. I flew through this. This was 4 stars. Even the stories that I wasn't as keen on, I enjoyed them enough. I flew through these books. The Janice Hallett one is, as always, is in epistolary form. There's emails, there's phone messages, there's letters and things like that. The Stuart Turton, I have a book by him that I picked up in a charity shop because I've heard it recommended a lot. So I wanted to see if I liked his writing style. His story was about red caps and other things that are very creepy, and Black Annis. And it was a lot. And it's set on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve or New Year's, one of those. And I will definitely be picking that book up now. Like I said, I picked it up secondhand, so I've got it. I also have a Rosie Andrews and a Rebecca Netley one. But there's a couple of other authors I am now going to look for. I just really enjoyed it, guys. If you like cryptoids, if you like strange creatures, if you like mythology, like the Einhallow Free one. I love the fact they've got an old Orkney rhyme. Einhallow Frank and Hangel Free. Einhallow stands in the middle of the sea. A roaring roost on every side. Einhallow stands in the middle of the tide, which is a traditional old rhyme. I just love them. We've got everything from giant slugs and black cats to spirits and revenge and Hindu gods, spirits in there too. It's very, very interesting. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to be keeping it. I'm so glad I picked it up on a whim, because it's definitely something I want to reread several of the stories and really just sit with them. I love this cover as well. Look at the gold foiling, and we have a lot of the creatures on here, like we have the slug and we have other things and tentacles. And then I even love the fact that there's like a claw hand and that the ISBN is at a weird angle, which, by the way, that's the ISBN. I think it came out this year, I want to say. Yeah, 2025. So this is a new one this year too. Really, really good. Like I said, did I say 4.5 for this or 4? Let me just double check. 4 for this one. Really interesting book. What I would say is some of the stories don't go in a direction you're expecting. They're actually quite dark and sad, and especially the first couple, quite dark and sad. There are massive trigger warnings for some of these stories, especially Old Trash, I would say. Old Trash and Mr. Mischief, massive trigger warnings for, just in case. They shocked me, not so much the monster, but the theme in the book. So there we go. I've had some good reads. Oh, my 5-star, my other 5-star. I've had some good reads. I'm glad I finally got around to doing this. There will be a couple that won't be staying in my collection. So I don't think this will be, and this won't be. I'm trying to make up my mind about this because I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I'm going to reread it, but I might just want to keep it in my stash. And obviously I had my 2 audiobooks, Hungerstone and Hemlock and Silver. I definitely want to pick up Hemlock and Silver as a book, and my ebook Lethal Liquorice. So, and we made some fun little labels. I'll carry on making some of those. But yes, so it was quite a good reading month. I was hoping to finish more. I've got a couple of books that I'm halfway through that I should have finished in October, but as I said, I've been busy and we've been doing lots of family stuff, so reading time has been reduced. So I'm going to finish those off at the start of November. That is my goal, is to finish those 2 off at the start of November, so I can move on to my November TBR, which is still going to be full of lots of kind of creepy, spooky stuff, and maybe a little bit of, I don't want to say festive, but winter. Maybe a little bit of festive. We'll see. And yeah, we're almost at the end of the year. So let me know down below if any of these sound good to you. Depending on your thing, I always recommend Poirot. Highly recommend Her Majesty's Royal Coven if you're into kind of witchcraft books and you like diversity. And really recommend Pumpkinheads if you haven't read it, if you want a good October feel-good hug. And Monstrous Tales, just for something a little bit different. I also recommend this. It's just something different, and it was fun. It was funny in places, and then yeah. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. This could be a long video. And don't forget, I shared my MinaLima Frankenstein and the Hocus Pocus at the start of this video. All of these books, as always, will be linked down below, so you can go check them out for yourself. Let me know if any of these sound like something you're going to pick up. I know a few of you have picked up The Garlic and the Vampire on my recommendation. So if you like that, guys, you'll probably like this one too. And yeah, I'll be back again soon with another video. And don't forget to check out my Frankenstein one of all my different covers if you haven't already. But anyway, guys, wherever you are in the world, I really hope you're having lots and lots of bookish fun. Bye for now.